Well, good afternoon, everyone, and welcome. I'm Bill Sutsui. It's a pleasure to have you all with us this afternoon as we announce and sign two historic memoranda of understanding between Hendrix College and schools in Little Rock, Episcopal Collegiate School and Pulaski Academy. I want to thank the representatives of these schools for being with us today, as well as members of the Hendrix Board of Trustees, Hendrix alums, parents, and friends, and all the faculty, staff, and students who are not yet either cramming for exams or facing big piles of exams to grade. Now, as everyone in this room I know is aware, we live in very challenging times for American higher education. More so than ever before, colleges and universities are being taken to task in the media for costing too much and for delivering too little, for not preparing our graduates adequately for employment, and for being tone deaf to the concerns of families. As the costs of higher education have continued to rise and wages have stagnated, young people have increasingly felt priced out of college, terrified by the prospect of heavy student loan debt and pressure to make life-changing educational choices based on cost rather than quality, guided by the constraints of their budgets rather than the logic of their heads or the dreams of their hearts. At the same time, as all of us in this room know, we live in very trying times for our nation as a whole. Our political system is fractured, our society is increasingly polarized, and we struggle even to discuss many of the issues that have vexed us and divided us for so long. For all our distinctively American idealism and optimism, and for all the advantages which our rich diversity brings us, we continue to fall short in achieving social justice and in building a society that is broadly and genuinely inclusive. Now at Hendrix, we know we can't solve all the problems of American higher education single-handedly. And we know that our little college in Arkansas cannot alone heal and unite our troubled nation, no matter how hard we try. What we do believe at Hendrix is that we need to start talking about accessibility, affordability, diversity, and inclusion in higher education at a time when so many other colleges and universities would prefer to avoid the topic. And what's more, we believe that we need to act on our words. We need to take real, significant steps to ensure that Hendrix remains within the reach of all talented young people, no matter what their personal means, and that Hendrix lives up to its ideal of being a truly diverse and inclusive community. Above all, perhaps, we at Hendrix, and I know our two partners here today, believe profoundly in the transformative power of education. Not only does education create opportunity and empower individuals, but it also offers us as a nation our best hope of addressing and eventually overcoming those difficult and tenacious issues that have so painfully divided us. Education, and especially the kind of rigorous, engaged, civically minded liberal education that we provide at Hendrix, can and must be a starting point for the courage, creativity, and commitment to reconciliation we so urgently need to fulfill our shared American dream. Now, as I've said more times than anyone in this room cares to remember, Hendrix's heritage is taking bright young men and women from all backgrounds, often of very limited means, and preparing them to lead lives of consequence, become the professional bedrock of communities in Arkansas and around the world, and pursue careers of distinction and service. Hendrix has been a social escalator for this state, giving a foot up to generations of students who went on to become physicians and lawyers, ministers and teachers, accountants and executives, artists and activists. Now more than ever, we need to keep fulfilling this role and to do even more to open our gates and our pocketbook to all the deserving, striving students out there. So a little over a year ago, we launched an ambitious new program called the Hendrix Arkansas Advantage. The program meets all of the demonstrated financial need, 100% of Arkansas high school graduates who meet certain academic requirements. This year, for example, the average aid package for the 160 new students benefiting from the Advantage, about 40% of our freshman class, was just short of $40,000. And that's just grant aid, not including loans or work study. Thanks to the Advantage, as many of you know, this last fall's entering class had more Arkansans in it than any freshman class at Hendrix in over a decade. And of course, we have also been working very hard to reach out to those with the greatest financial challenges, and those in communities as yet not so well represented at Hendrix as they need to be. So last year we concluded partnerships with the League of United Latin American Citizens, LULAC, and with KIPP Delta Public Schools in Helena, West Helena, as well as this past fall with 4 schools and organizations in Little Rock: the Arkansas Commitment, Catholic High, Central High School, and Mount St. Mary Academy. Today, Hendrix is just thrilled to extend its partnerships to 2 more exceptional schools, underlining our commitment not just to accessibility and diversity, but also to our home here in Central Arkansas. Hendrix and these new partners know each other well already. Every fall, a bunch of bright young people from Episcopal Collegiate and PA come up here to Conway to enroll. But with these formal partnerships, and with the investments we are making to support those with the greatest financial need, we hope to attract even more students who could benefit from the individualized, high-touch, and high-impact education that we offer here at Hendrix. Now, thanks to generous gifts from alumni and donors, and with the support of our endowment, including the stunning $26 million gift from the estate of Mary Ann Dawkins that we announced last August, Hendrix will offer substantial financial packages to talented, low-income students from our partner schools and organizations. The Hendrix Aspire Scholarships will provide full-ride or almost full-ride grant aid to federal Pell Grant eligible students choosing to attend Hendrix from ECS and Pulaski Academy. The complete packages will cover up to the full cost of attendance, including tuition, fees, room, board, and in some cases, textbooks and other expenses as well. And of course, all of the Aspire Scholarship recipients will be supported here at Hendrix by our entire community, but especially by Dr. Dion Jackson, class of '96, a professor in our Department of Education who will start in just a few weeks as our new Vice President for Diversity and Inclusion. Now, these Hendrix Aspire Scholarships are an important and very concrete step for us in demonstrating once again how Hendrix College is, as a community and as an institution, committed to affordability, to diversity, to excellence, and to the state of Arkansas. At a time when world-class college educations seem like such a stretch for so many students and their families, we are adamant that Hendrix remain a powerful social escalator, that Hendrix not just be for a thin slice of the elite, and that Hendrix must and will continue to be accessible to all those of promise who would benefit from the transformative experiences we offer. We are honored to have such distinguished partners. We are grateful to have all of you with us here this afternoon, and we are excited to have this opportunity to bring some more exceptional young people up the road from Little Rock to Conway. I am now pleased to introduce Randy Wilburn, who's the Vice Chair of the Hendrix Board of Trustees.
Thanks, Bill. Well, I'll try to be brief, but I do want to talk about one thing, and that's a path from where you are to where you're going. In the school years 1972, 73, and 74, how many people in the room were born after 1974? Okay. I taught school for 2 years at a school district in North Arkansas. It was the St. Joe School District. The first year I was there were 261 students, K through 12. The second year, there were 275. That year, the St. Joe School District, which is the north third of Searcy County, that part of Searcy County above the Buffalo River, had the lowest per capita income of any school district in the state. The poorest people in the state lived in that county statistically. Why was I there? Well, it was not all due to the fact that I thought I'd just give 2 years to teaching school. It's the only job I could get teaching. The reason was I wasn't certified. And the reason they could hire me was because of a program that had hung on after the Johnson years that allowed school districts that had very low income and a high poverty level to hire teachers that weren't fully certified as long as they were working toward their certification. And so to do that, you went to the State Department of Education, you filled out a bunch of forms, and they told you, okay, you graduated from Hendrix, you had a few hours at graduate school at the University of Arkansas, you had these courses, so you're eligible to teach in the high school or junior high level. You can teach English, social studies, history, or art. So there I was with those qualifications, and I applied to every school district in the Buffalo River watershed. It was really what I wanted to do was fish. St. Joe School District hired me, and I started, and that year, with those qualifications I had, I taught 10th grade world history, 11th grade American history, 7th and 8th grade English. I had 7th and 8th grade art and reading. I sponsored the Beta Club, was a substitute school bus driver, and ran the clock at 163 basketball games. Now, I learned about that place while I was there, and I learned that in the 3 years before I was there, one student had gone to college out of that school. And I got interested in statistics with a friend of mine, and we started looking back at the school by taking the annuals, and it was the population was static. It's been the same forever. Always there were between 30 and 40 first graders, and always there were between 6 and 8 graduates. And you can see where they dropped off. A bunch of them dropped off after the 6th grade, a wacko number after the 8th and 9th grades, and then a whole bunch after their junior year. Now the thing was, there was no path out there for those students. But a very interesting thing happened the first year I was there. It was announced that the North Arkansas Community College at Harrison was going to open. And so there was going to be an entry-level college experience 35 miles away. No dormitories, but lots of work. The first year it was open, 7 kids from that school went there. Within 5 years, half of the students of every senior class were going there because there was a path. And what we're talking about here today is a path. Now, I've got 6 grandchildren that are at school in Little Rock. Unfortunately, 3 of them are Chris Tompkins' responsibility at Episcopal Collegiate. The Sugar Babies, I don't know if you recognize the Sugar Babies. That's 2 boys and a girl who are very loud. I have 3 other grandchildren who are in the public school system, 2 at Central, 1 at Jefferson Elementary. All those kids have a path out. But we're talking about a program here that offers students not just an aspirational path out of where they are, but an economic path out of where they are. And this program now that Hendrix has in effect is as applicable to students at the St. Joe School District. Now, by the way, it had to consolidate And you might know that it would consolidate with something that would have an interesting name, the Eros St. Joe School. So those kids have a way out because of the work that people have done to make programs like this possible. I'd like to point out Randy Zook, who's leaning against Wilbur Mills over here in the back, who's head of the State Chamber of Commerce. He and I are partners in crime on some educational issues from time to time. And both of us grew up in an era, and he in a Delta town where a path out made the big difference. And so that's what we're working on today. Thank y'all very much for being here.
Good afternoon. I'm Chris Tompkins. I'm the head of school at Episcopal Collegiate. Obviously, the most important thing to say today is a simple thank you. Thank you first and foremost to President Susui, Mr. Wilburn, and of course Karen Faust and the Hendrix Office of Enrollment for all the efforts that you've put forth on behalf of students, specifically our students at our schools. I'm an educator. I love education. It's in my DNA. When I hear you speaking about your experience, it brings back stories of my own family working in various schools, public and independent, and accessibility and affordability. The most important things that we as educators need to focus on going on into the future. Prior to coming here to Arkansas, I was very involved at NAIS, their SSS task force on financial aid. And we worked long hours on making our schools accessible and affordable, never an easy task. We know that endowment is essential to that. We know that making sure that we are reaching out to families who might not ever think it is affordable and convincing them that it is, that's essential. But at the end of the day, education is about bringing people together. And two really important stories, one very personal and one general, come to mind. I always remember the story of my grandfather, who was an immigrant to this country, and he did not get past the 6th grade. When people said, did you go to college? He said, absolutely, I went to Columbia. He wasn't quite lying because he was a plumber's helper, and he would tell people later, I went in the front door and out the back. I also, and my point of bringing him up is that he loved education so much that not only did he ensure that his children went to college, but when he was on vacation at one point, because he did end up being successful, he felt it was essential for him to give back, and he met some people who he paid to go to Columbia University out of his own pocket. That was his way of giving back. I also think of a gentleman named Sawney Webb, who is the founder of the Webb School in Tennessee. He used to say that education is simply a boy and a master, or a student and a teacher sitting on a log and communicating with each other. But our quest here is bringing the master and the student together to sit on that log. And really, that is what we're talking about doing today. One of the greatest things for me as a head of school is to know all of the people that work at school and where they come from, and the parents that I work with. I'm going to leave people out, I hope I don't. But I want to recognize Lynn and Hayden Franks, who are both graduates of Hendrix School, Tracy and Albert Braunfish, our communications director who's here today, Marty Trishman, and her husband, who's actually the Hendrix Murphy visiting playwright, our college counselors, our former head of upper school, our academic dean, and of course her husband, Dr. Robert Ensminger, was the provost here for many, many years. 10% of our faculty at Episcopal Collegiate are graduates of this college. That's a pretty amazing number. Tells us a lot. As head of school, I say thank you there too. We have great faculty. We are very, very blessed. And in fact, one of your students was just interviewing for a job, so we may well have another person joining us currently. So, on behalf of our Board of Trustees, our students, our parents, but especially those who will qualify for the Aspire Scholarship, I thank you and the Board of Trustees for your generosity and your kindness. Thank you.
Good afternoon, everybody. I'm Matt Walsh from Pulaski Academy, and of course I want to begin my remarks as well simply by recognizing the incredible generosity of this arrangement. Of course, Dr. Satsui, thank you so much for thinking of PA and this connection, and Mr. Wilburn as well, and the entire Hendrix community and your board. Like Episcopal, Chris, PA has a long and fruitful history and association with Hendrix, and a lot of those people are in this room. I'm looking over at Ellis Arnold. Hello, Ellis. Had a long, great past association. I was very fruitful with Ellis. Also, former Hendrix president Joe B. Hatcher served PA with distinction on more than one occasion, for which we were most grateful. Our own Leanna Wall, who's our head of advancement, is a Hendrix graduate. And I think we've got some graduates in this room. Raise your hand if you are a graduate. There you go. All right. I think in the past 4 or 5 years, we said about 14 or 15 PA graduates your way. But of course, over the years, a lot more than that. So it's a long and fruitful connection and association. But it's really, frankly, nice to formalize it in this way and through an endeavor and a program that is so noble and so important, as the previous speakers have talked about. So it's really a delight for us. And one of the things we talked about when your contingent was at PA just a couple of weeks ago was how interesting it is how this dovetails with our own Malone Scholars Program. And PA received a wonderful $2 million endowment just last May from the John Malone Foundation to support students of need and of merit. Those two things are very important, need and merit, in grades 7 through 12. And so now, someone who is eligible for a Malone scholarship at PA and his or her family can contemplate not just what that means at PA, but also what that could mean at Hendrix. So when you talk, Mr. Wilburn, about a pathway and opportunities and an avenue, that is really what's most exciting to us. So let me just conclude by acknowledging again how appreciative we are of this arrangement and how excited we are to begin it. Thank you.
Let's get these partnerships inked. Chris, could you join me? We got our fancy velvet-coated pens here to go. We have a couple copies, so why don't you start on one, and I will start on the other. You know, after we did the signing last fall in Little Rock with 4 partners, we managed to lose one of the agreements. I'm keeping my eyes on these this time. Third, thank you. Thank you, Chris. Such a pleasure. Matt? We've got to drill down now. All right. my little scroll, yeah. Matt, what a pleasure.
Thank you very much.
Well, I could not be pleased, more pleased with joining ECS and PA in this way. I guess there actually is one more way I could be pleased, and that is to start welcoming students under this scholarship program to campus. I checked with Karen Faust, our Director of Enrollment, yesterday, and in our first year offering these scholarships, we welcomed 4 wonderful students, 3 from KIPP Delta, 1 through LULAC. This year already, and we're not done recruiting yet, 13 students will be coming to Hendrix through the Aspire Scholarship Program from all of our partner schools and organizations. And I can't wait till your two schools are with us a year from now.